not good for the market. We got a gap down in the market, and we just flushed a little bit. And, we're kind of in this bottom of this range here. So we're in that weird spot where it's like the market's not really flushing yet because it's just it's digesting this here. And so you're having this kind of like 3, 4, 5 days of, I wouldn't say chop, but I mean, in the indexes, yes, chop, right? We talk about this in the pre-market that there's a good shot that the large caps are going to flatline, right? And that you would have to play themes, right? So if you're sitting there banging your head, like, why did I do so many donations in the midday? Remember what we talked about in the morning, that the large caps, there's probably going to be some flatlining in them. And, there's going to be some other themes that start to emerge, in the markets like China's or small caps or things of that nature, right? So you do have to kind of keep mind of that, we're just in that kind of weird spot in the market where that can happen. But in general, we still got a good kind of 15, 20 minutes of shred at the open. And some of them are still trending. So that's always a plus anyways. But let's first take a look. So first trade I did was on this snow, and I still got 100 shares of this thing. It's just kind of trending down slowly but surely. But I took this thing. So, the low of this this is just a very simple setup. You guys can do this. The low of this was basically 128. I tried to get actually a little bit earlier. You can see here. So the low of yesterday was, give or take, like 128.60 or something. I tried to jam the buttons there, but I didn't get filled to about 128.20. And that's like the nature of the game sometimes. You're not going to get the exact pinpoint. But once again, like if you're playing, what kind of game are you playing? Are you playing a game of pennies? Or are you playing a game of dollars, right? If you're playing a game of pennies, then yeah, like, oh shit, like I didn't get, 128.60, or I didn't get this, because you're playing a different game. But this is a high ATR stock, and you're going to get most of it at the open anyways. So just something to kind of be mindful of. Keep an eye on that AMTD too. I just had an alert set up, alert go off on that. So I shorted 128.20s, and then just a very, very simple setup. I covered half 128.580s. It's easier to hold for like bigger numbers, right? When you're at the open, because there's lack of liquidity, they'll just drop really fast. But you have here, like, you want to always kind of cover some into the flush anyway. So I got up 125.80s, and there's nothing really like scientific about that entry or exit. I'm up a couple points, right? My risk was a point, and you just got a nice shred down, like you just do it and worry about the rest later. And then, put a stop at your short price for the rest. And, from there, as this thing kept flushing down, into the next flush, 123. Well, I got 123.88. I covered a quarter. Now you're like kind of used up a good chunk of the ATR, or at least some of it. And then, I kept a quarter for Lotto with the stop at the buy price, short price. I've actually just forgotten about it till I will do that sometimes with some of these Lottos. Mistake on this trade that I thought was important. Nice, easy pull into the EMA and remount under. That would have probably gave us a couple extra points. That's, we want to try to get as much shekels out of these things as we can. But this is, once again, just a straightforward setup. And this moves better, I think, than some of, like if you're banging your head against some of these other stocks. This one moves really good, even when it's a little bit light in liquidity. Then I took the green to red on net. This is like, okay, you have a big bear flag over here, right? So when you have a big bear flag over here, right, you're just basically following, right, what's happening on the daily chart with some type of intraday chart. So we have here, right, a slight move up, and then it just goes green to red. And so you just slam it, right? And there was a little bit of a spread on it. Who cares? Like, you just slam it right away. And there's not much thinking on this type of trade, like because it's $40, right? It's not $100 stock. Like start covering off. I covered half 4140s. Thinking like, okay, this was going to be, I had kind of marked out in my head that these were going to be some support levels here. This actual low was about 4160. So I was watching that kind of that zone to see if I needed to kind of cover into that. When we flushed under it, I took a little bit off the table, 4140. If you think about it, it's like taking 60, 70 cents on net is like taking, right? Like times it by 3 for NVIDIA, it'd be like taking 2 points on NVIDIA, right? So you would do that. So, the same type of parameters over here. And then into the next flush, 4080. And I'll do this. I'll just keep covering every 50, 60, 70 cents, or if there's $100 stock, every dollar or so. Sometimes people make their targets too complicated. This is the open. Just let the ATRs play out and then just kind of keep covering into it. And then the next flush, I covered off 4030. At that point, it's a 266 ATR. I've got the whole ATR, guys, right? You get the whole damn ATR. Well, that's good. You know what I mean? So, just kind of be mindful of that. When you have the whole ATR going, okay, good. We've got it now. Like we can have a little fun, right? So just something to be mindful of as you guys are kind of going through this. 266 ATR, it dropped down 266. Not much else to do with it, until it pops into the EMAs. And look, if it pops into the EMAs, you're still probably just playing for it down to here anyways, because the ATR has been used, right? And so maybe it breaks down a little bit and you can keep some for a lotto or something like that, but not like a heavy position or a big commitment. You're talking about a quarter of the size, when you're going for like bigger trades, like you're usually doing it with a quarter size or a third of size, something like that, especially when the ATRs are used. So just something to just be mindful of. Very simple setups on net and snow. You guys can, that has been our bear market. That has been our bear market bread and butter. Now, I fucked up on this NVIDIA a little bit here, but whatever. Like, you had the gap down here, and I like a piker. Don't do this because I had to repair the trade. The second candle here, I ended up shorting it. First of all, it's the second candle, so it's not an ORB yet. It's only one candle. So like an idiot, I'm shorting at the low end of the range, and I'm early on the orb because I'm on the second candle. I'm leaving myself up to all sorts of disaster then. So what we got to be doing during those cases too is being really mindful. So like immediately, as soon as I fucking shorted, this thing popped up into the VWAP. So I had to kind of repair the trade. I won't do this often, but just to fix the average, I added a half size back into the VWAP here. As I was feeling pretty strongly, it was going to probably come back down an orb. So then when it actually flushed back through, now I've got a much better average, instead of 4330 and, I added enough at 144 to get the average better. So then I can cover down into this flush at 142 80s, as now I've kind of hit my RRs and stuff like that. And then it just kind of farted around and I got stopped out flat on the rest when it just got to the average I had. Bad trade because I took the damn second candle. I'm not supposed to be doing that. I'm not supposed to be doing that. So just something to be kind of mindful. Don't do that. Like it's a no buenos. It gets you in a little bit of trouble, But then now you got to go repair the trade and do all this fucking shit, right? So just something to be super mindful of when you go through this. It's the name of the game. Sometimes we'll make some mistakes, and if we can fix it, we fix it. And if not. Then later on, I took a trade in Tesla, and Tesla is was a very simple setup. But I did get a little bit of a fugazi on it. So I ended up shorting Tesla. You can see here, like Tesla came up and then it popped up here and then broke back under view. So I shorted into this pop and it broke back under a little bit and then just bam out of nowhere just ripped. And so once it broke over this candle, I got out of the trade. Once it broke over that candle, I got out of the trade. And that, I got out 109.50. So I hit the market order to cover at 109.25, but I ended up getting out 109.50. So I lost 30 cents or whatever. That's part of the game. And then it did fizzle out, a little sucker. There must have been some market related thing there. Who knows, right? But we got to always be careful with those. Bastards, right? So whatever, potato. You lose a couple pennies, you move on, you do it again, move on and do it again. Now, later on, right after that, we took a trade in BABA. And guys, this is just a very simple red to green setup, right? Very, very simple red to green setup. First of all, China stocks have been really, really hot. China stocks have been really, really hot here, right? So Billy went red to green. PDD, right, goes red to green. By the way, we should have fucking taken these. The market was flushing off a little bit, but we should have been taking these. And I'm going to keep harping it on you guys right now. Like, if you just keep banging your head on the same 3 or 4 stocks, you're missing out on all these other ones. And there's a whole host of other things that are happening here. We should definitely be thinking China's a lot. They are the relative strength, like, meter of this stuff. So, BABA was having trouble with this red to green spot. I actually took the red to green here. If I preempted the red to green here at 109, 103.60, and I immediately sold it flat because well, the damn thing, it was too extended and the EMAs wasn't tight enough on it. So when the EMA is not tight enough on it, you got to be a little bit careful. So, because the EMA was loose on it, I got in, I realized it, and I just got out immediately because, right, the EMAs weren't tight enough. And then so as it broke back over here, now I reload this thing because the 9 EMA is so tight on it. You have just a simple red to green where, your stop loss is really just at the red to green spot anyways, for the most part, give or take a few pennies. But, you got your 9 EMA pushing up under it, much, much easier trade. So, I sold off half here. Let's see. I think I sold off. Hold on here. So I ended up selling off, half. I'm selling off half here because 104.70s and 105.13. So first of all, 104.70s is a good sell just because if you look here, that's kind of the previous day's resistance. So you want to kind of sell off into this area. You want to start watching it into that area. You don't have to necessarily sell it off into the area, but you want to start to watch it in that area, right? And then I want to just keep selling off spikes. We're in a bear market, guys. So, when you take longs, like, unless they have a PR out, you don't want to have like crazy hold times. And then into the next spike into 105.13, I sold off another quarter. I'm just kind of basically, if you can see here, I'm just kind of piecing out of this thing. BABA's not a fast moving stock. So this is an income trade. I'm piecing out of this thing every 50 cents and just putting a stop at my buy price. So I got out some at 105.13. And then, when it dropped under, I got stopped out flat on the rest as it just kind of came back. Now it's meandering here and doing all this fun stuff. And then, of course, we had some fun stuff in these small cap names. These are, guys, this is called sympathy trades. When HKD runs, right? When HKD runs, then what you have to do is think back into the summertime, like when they were all running together, what goes with these things, right? So HKD is going to go. So then you got to start going down the list, right? Then that's when, you start seeing the Magles and stuff. And then you can start doing the flags and, all the kind of stuff on these things. And that's just called sympathy trading, or what we'd call, a hot potato, right? And then it's just AMTD, right? Taking the flags and, so on and so forth. And these were just like easy trades, and you don't want to really hold them longer than a couple candles because they'll just like, when Magle goes, this is how you do the sympathy play, right? So like Magle starts to break, it's 11 o'clock, right? Magle starts to push here. See, at 11 o'clock, Magle's starting to push. So you'd start going down the list, then you hit up the, right, AMTD, and this one is trailing. So then you go sell that one, pop into this one, and that's what the hot potato is. Take the profits on one, then you pop into the other, and then you just start doing this, right? You know, endlessly, and then you'll start to see, right, some of these other ones start to pop up and do all this kind of fun stuff. So the good thing is also we're getting some speculative action in the markets. We are seeing a more broader based amount of trades moving, meaning beyond now just, right, your NVIDIAs, Teslas, AMDs, Netflix, right, these kind of FANG stocks that we would normally be trading. You are starting to get an expansion in different types of things that are moving, right? And it started with the Chinas, right? And now we're starting to see like them go into biotechs, right? So then Cala got the biotech sector really brewing, and then that got the biotechs going, and now this HKD's got some of these, now HKD's got, right, some of these reverse split names going, and ATNF was another one that was really kind of getting them going, but HKD's got the reverse split stocks going, so now we've got more things to trade, which is always fun because you can, you know, you can get a little bit complacent when you just trade the same things over and over because you force trades into them sometimes. Like if you're just sitting there, right, and staring at Tesla all day, sure, it gives you like some things, but okay, so this thing's been stuck in a range the whole day. But like if it's like if all you're watching is like these kind of names or just like one or two names or three or four names, and you're doing the same ones like pretty much every day for so long, then you end up forcing things. You see patterns that don't necessarily exist. Like you know, if you're a layman, you just see a range. But if you are somebody that stares at this the whole day, you know, you start to say like, oh, this is 20 EMA pattern, this is 9 EMA pattern, this is this pattern, right? And you start to just, you just start to like invent these things and excuses to get in. And so now you're kind of getting too uber focused. So guys, this has been, first of all, December was pretty consistent. I mean, we didn't have any big Fugazi days, but there was good trades every day. And I would say the start of the year, we haven't had to take too many trades, but I think that we've only missed like one or two in the last few days. So that's also been good. You know, I think we could have been probably a little bit more aggressive yesterday, but, you know, we had some good trades and snow and NVIDIA and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, I was trying to, when you get those elongated moves, I like to kind of try to nail them down as much as I can. But, you know, there were definitely some more speculative names that were going yesterday, and we are starting to see some action. So we'll see if maybe we got inside days on some of these kind of January effect plays. We'll see if these kind of go tomorrow. And dude, we're going to get this party started back up again. All right. Rock and roll, peoples.